Everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I am Fardin Hassan Sami. Currently, I am studying in Computer Science and Engineering at Shahjalan University of Science and Technology. Today, we will discuss how economists measure inequality and poverty, why it matters, and key concepts like the Lorentz curve, Gini coefficient, and poverty indices. What is poverty and inequality? Poverty and inequality are key economic issues affecting societies worldwide. Measuring them helps policymakers design effective interventions. Some people earn significantly more than others, leading to disparities in living standards. Measuring inequality. Inequality refers to the uneven distribution of income or wealth among individuals or groups in society. The key measures are Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient. Lorentz curve. A Lorentz curve is a graphical tool that shows income distribution, and the curve plots cumulative income shares against population percentiles. If everyone had equal income, the Lorentz curve would be a straight line, like 45-degree angles, which means perfect equality. Further, the curve goes away from this line, the greater the inequality is. Gini coefficient, a numerical measure of inequality, ranges from 0 to 1, sometimes expressed as 0 to 100. 0 means perfect equality, and 1 means extreme inequality, which is one person earns everything. It is calculated using some formula like this, and it is calculated using the area between the Lorentz curve and the equality line. So here is the formula. You can calculate it by your own. Let us discuss about measuring poverty. So what is poverty? Poverty simply means lacking sufficient resources to meet basic needs like food, shelter, and health cares, etc. We have a definition here. Poverty measurements involves defining a poverty line, absolute or relative, and then assessing the proportion and depth of the population below that line, often using indicators like income, consumption, or access to basic needs. Here we have two key issues related to poverty as highlighted by economist Amartya Sen in 1976, which is lack of basic capabilities and relative deprivations. Lack of basic capabilities. Amartya Sen argues that uh, poverty is not just about income but also about the ability of individuals to achieve a certain standard of living, including access to basic needs like food, shelter, healthcare, and education. He emphasized that people in poverty may lack of capabilities to make choice and live fulfilling lives. Relative deprivation. Shane also points out that poverty is not just about absolute deprivation, but also about how people's well-being compares to others in their society. This means that even if someone has enough to survive, they may still be considered poor if they are unable to access the same resources and the opportunities as others. So, this is the two key issues related to poverty. Here we have Foster Greer Throwback. Foster Greer Throwback proposed as a class of poverty measure popularly known as Foster Greer Throwback class. We can measure it by this equation, and here we discuss something more about this. In Foster Gear Throwback by or FGT, uh, we have three main things here, which is headcount index, poverty gap index, and squared poverty index. So headcount index simply means the proportion of country's population living below the poverty line or the fraction of poor in total population. The ratio is often when alpha equal to 0. We can calculate it by this equation P naught equal to NP divided by N. After that we have poverty gap index PG. Poverty gap index estimates the depth of poverty by considering how far the poor are from the poverty line on average. To minimize the limitation of the headcount index, economist attempts to calculate poverty gap ratio that measures the average income necessary to raise everyone who is below the poverty line up to that line. The index is obtained when alpha equal to 1. In previous, we see that uh, in headcount index, when alpha equal to 0, we find the headcount index, and here we find the poverty gap index when the alpha value is equal to 1. Squared poverty index. To incorporate severity and inequality into poverty measure, Ostergreer and Thorbeck introduced squared poverty gap index or poverty severity index, which is defined by P2, and this is the equation for squared poverty index. Here we have some difference between poverty gap index and squared poverty gap index. Focus depth of poverty and depth and inequality among the poor, weighting equal wealth for all poor, more wealth for the poorest. Sensitivity measures shortfall from poverty line, penalize those in extreme poverty more. So understanding inequality and poverty helps policymakers create a better economic policies. Government use this measure to design programs that reduce poverty and income disparity. And so the summary of this chapter is poverty refers to the condition where individuals or communities lack the financial resources to meet basic needs like food, shelter, healthcare, and education. It can be absolute or relative. Absolute means lacking necessities, relative means falling behind the average standard of living in a society. Inequality, on the other hand, refers to the uneven distribution of wealth, opportunity, and resources among individuals or groups. So here we discussed about this. Uh, so in exist in various forms such as economic, social, and gender inequality, and can be influenced by factors like education, discrimination, and government policies. So poverty and inequality are interconnected. High inequality often leads to persistent poverty, limiting upward mobility. Addressing these issues require economic growth, fair policies, access to quality education, and social support system. So that's all for today. If you learned something about something from this video, then like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that's it. Thank you for watching.